So can we make realistic submarines? Can we? I don't know, but let me show you how submarines kind of currently work in Stormworks. So in Stormworks, you can build a submarine, and there are a few ways that you can submerge and, jump back up to the surface. You don't actually have to use ballast. You can make them heavy enough and just use your elevators on the submarine. Is that right? Elevators? Is that what they're called on a submarine? I feel like they're not called elevators. But you can use elevators in the game, or air surfaces, to make the submarine dive and come back up. So what I wanted to find out is, can we make a realistic submarine that uses compressed air to blow out ballast and surface, surface the submarine. So what I'm going to do is first show you this submarine. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And the way this submarine works is it is currently filling the ballast. And so there are tanks, if I kind of cheat, let's see here, right over here. So let's just go like that. So right here, a door has opened and the submarine is filling the ballast tanks with water. So if we look at the submarine on the outside, well, relatively different than it used to sit in the water. So like I said, with the new update, we kind of have to rebalance our submarines and our ships and probably our planes. But anyway, the idea here is, let's get this thing going. Those are pumps, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and get going, if it works. And let's set our depth to periscope. Why aren't you diving, little sub? Did I hit the button? You're still filling ballast tanks? Oh, I know why. Okay, I got it. So what happened, why the submarine is broken, is because there's now air in this space. But the problem is with the old submarines, this space is now filled with air, and I'm not going to be able to dive this submarine. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, so let's just take this back into the workshop and I'll show you something real quick. Alright, so we're in the editor, and I just want to show you. So the old submarines, we would open this door, it would fill with water, and then we have these pumps right here with the air filter on. Now we use the air filter because in the previous version of Stormworks, before the gases, if you dove with a submarine, at some point the pumps would not be able to pump out the water. So if this was not actually going to an air filter and it was pushing the water out the submarine, your pumps would stop working. So everybody just started using air filters, which basically delete the water as it comes through the pump. I assume this still works. I don't know if it still works or not. But, so what we want to do is fill up some air tanks, which would be our compressed air, and then when we fill this room with water, our ballast tank, we want to be able to push this water out and, no matter what depth we are. However, Deltar said in an interview that he would not change how pumps work, so they probably will still have issues pushing out water at depth, but we don't know if the compressed air will work. So what we're going to do, we're going to figure that out today. So I'm going to show you my modified submarine test, which is this one right here. Okay, so you can see here what I did just for testing, and this is not what I'm going to do, but I just wanted to see if it would kind of work. I have air tanks down here, or empty tanks, and thanks to Phil for telling me, they took out the option to set a tank to like empty, so you just have to like lower its contents on a slider bar. So if I look here, you have to do this. So I just picked fresh water. I don't know if that matters what this means here. I don't think it does because it seems to work. But I just put the level to 0, and that's the way you get your empty tanks, because before we used to have an option here that just said empty, but now we don't, unless I was crazy, but I'm pretty sure that we did have that option. Anyways, that's gone, if it was ever there. So I've got my compressed air tanks here that I'm going to fill with compressed air, and I have this room right here. If we get out of here, we have this room right here that has doors up here, which are going to open and allow water in, and then we'll try to blow the tanks and, get rid of the water. So let me show you this little test. If I remember right, it's this one? Yes, this one. Okay, so right now the air pumps right here are pulling in air. I think these are as well. And so if we come down in here, right down here, oops, the air is coming down from up top and into these tanks. And you can see pressure is 33, atmospheric pressure, and they are rising. They will rise to 100, and then we will attempt to dive, and then we'll attempt to blow the air. And this is just like, in what, 20 meters of water, maybe not 20, like 15, 10, I don't know what it is. But the point is, I'm just going to show you that it works, at this depth because, you know, submarines need to go down and they need to come back up. But how fun would it be during a sub hunt to have the submarines actually have to use their compressed air to get out of the water and recharge the batteries and all that stuff, and then have to turn on their compressed air pumps again to fill up their tanks so that when they dive, they can come back up again. I think that'd be pretty fun. So as you can see, like, they're not all equal here, depending on how the pumps are set up. And that is worth noting. You see this little guy here? The fluid filters are taken out. They were removed. So you can't use these kind of fluid filters on your build anymore. I mean, I guess you could use the old one, but I don't know if they work properly. And then we have the other one, the new ones, the little tiny ones for gas or fluid filtering. So if I wanted to stop fluid from coming into these pipes here, I would put my little valve on here for air, and it would only allow air down. Problem is, as soon as you put those on here, or even the old one, the pumps like are reduced to like nothing. It will take forever to fill up your tanks. So if we look here, we are full. So we're going to turn that off, and I think we're going to hit this button, which is going to flood the tanks. So yeah, so we're flooding the tanks right now, and we should sink probably in the back half at least. So anyways, yeah, filters are a problem. And I don't know why they gimp them if you add them. I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but using filters sucks. So we're going to go ahead and, is it full? It looks like 5337 is it. And again, this is only a test. Don't expect the submarine to like actually go down as far as it should be. But what we want to do next is the compressed air is at 100, and we want to push this water out, and it's actually pushing the water out of the sides here. See those right there? So it's going to press the water out. So, oh, here we go. Compressed air for the win. As you can see, it is pushing the air out. So, yeah, that's awesome. So let me give you some notes on that. So here's my final test. It's kind of a mess. It's not what your submarine is going to look like, of course. But what we have here is these pumps up here are going to bring in air into these two side tanks, inner side tanks. Okay, they're going to put compressed air in here. And on the outer side, where are we at? The outer side, this is where we're going to bring in our water. As you can see, I have my doors. And what we're going to do with these side things here is we're going to push out the water using a combination of pumps and compressed air. And the reason I'm using the pumps is because compressed air alone is pretty quick, but with the pumps, you could add a few pumps to your submarine. In a combination with the compressed air, you're going to get the water out of the sub quicker. So that's why I did this. It's also a test to see if at a lower depth, we can use the pumps to expel the water with the compressed air. So that is what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and go test this. Okay, so here's the test build. We're in the middle of the ocean, so we should get some depth out of it. Do I have? Yeah, I have damage off. So what we have here is the atmospheric pressure that's like out here. And then this is the pressure in the water tanks, okay? And then of course this is our altitude. And this is the volume of air, and I believe that's the water. So let's go ahead and turn on the lights and pump in the air. Okay, so using all these pumps, you can see how fast it is to fill up the compressed air tanks. So that's quite a bit of pumps, I think, in order to do that. So imagine that it's probably around the right number you'd want for a, I guess I'm going to go with the U-boat, so that it doesn't take forever, but it does take some time to fill up the compressed air tanks. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 24. So I got 2 in the front as well. So there you go. So 24 big pumps, pumping it up. So let's go ahead and wait, and then we'll go ahead and fill the ballast tanks. All right, so it went to 101. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off those pumps now. And so we have compressed air in both these tanks underneath us that are at 100 atmospheric pressure. And once we open up the ballast tanks, these doors here, we're going to sink. Are we ready? Let's do it. Okay. And as you can see, it's kind of scary. We just kind of dove underneath the water very quickly. And so it's filling up. It looks like 9147 is about it. So we'll go ahead and close that off. And we're just going to sink. The atmospheric pressure is 1 still. So I'm not getting any like crushing depth or anything like that on my body, I assume, because it's not really changing. So inside our ballast tanks, we got a pressure of 4. So it's only 3 times more just because we added fluid to it. I don't know how that works. But where are we at? So we are roughly 300 meters under the water. You can also see they bubble. So that's a fluid out. These are fluid, or these are air in, and they let off little bubbles. I always wonder if they're like leaking, but I'm not positive. Is that going down? Staying at 100. I don't know. Not too sure. We're at 101, but it seems to be okay now. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn on the pumps on the sides. We're also going to use the compressed air to push out that water. Okay, so here we go. I hit the right button. Yep, there you go. You can see the particles, and we're starting to rise. And if you look, we've already blown out the fluid, so we're starting to rise. But yeah, so yeah, the tanks are empty now. So I guess we could do one more test just to show you. I'm going to go ahead and take off all the pumps. And we'll try it and see if we can blow the ballast with only compressed air. Let's do that. All right, so what we need to do differently here is we're going to use a valve, and we're going to get rid of all of these tanks. And then we're just going to put our valve, and this is an on and off valve, right? So it's not a variable valve. It's a simple Boolean, so it will either turn on or turn off, allowing fluid to pass through it. Okay. All right, so we'll put these back on, and then we will only have compressed air to get rid of the fluid. Okay, let's go back to our test body over here. All right, there it is. All right, so what the difference is, again, we are using the air pumps, of course, to fill up the tanks. However, all of our fluid ballast will be pushed out of the submarine, hopefully, by the compressed air that we are now filling up. So I don't know how fast this is going to be. I think with all of these valves, we should be able to expel the water relatively quickly. Probably not as fast as with the pumps, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe I have enough that it's going to be pretty fast. So we'll find out. So let's wait for the compressed air to fill up, and then I'll go ahead and dive the submarine. All right, we're at 100 ballast. On a side note, is it just me, or are things a bit more, I don't know if the right word is buoyant, but bouncy now? I feel like we didn't used to bounce around so much with, weather set all the way down, but maybe it did and I just never made a small boat and sat on top of the water? I don't know, but it does feel a little bit more oceany, which is cool. All right, so what we're going to do, of course, is drop down and see what happens. It's so scary when that opens up. So when I press the button, the valves in the center will open, the valves on the outside will open, and the water should be, pushed out at 300 meters. Now, if this works, we should be able to have realistic submarines to a certain extent. Of course, they're still a little bit funky, but this is a good step to having some, realistic gameplay for submarine hunts, if it works. Don't know. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Is it working? Yeah, it is expelling the water. Not as fast as the air pumps did. So if you want your submarine to rise a little quicker, I think you need a combination of compressed air and maybe a few air pumps just to get it out. So we're expelling the water. We're at 74%, basically, of our compressed air. And we're slowly not rising. We're just not rising. We're stuck on the bottom still. Okay, we're at 6,000. We're halfway there on our compressed air. Will we be able to expel all the water without pumps? I do not know. So exciting. 22%. I feel like we're not going to have enough compressed air to get all the water out, but I might be wrong. So I think what this is showing is we may need to have, or make sure your submarine is balanced so that you have a little bit. Was that a fish? What's that? Oh, that's an air bubble. So that you have a little bit more compressed air than you do ballast, and you should be fine. Or add a pump. The pumps work great, but I don't think we're going to be able to get out of here with the compressed air that we had. Also, is it... Oh, 19 tank pressure. I was going to say, is it pressing the water back in? Yes, I think it is. Yes. Okay, so now we've lost pressure. We're at 5, and our pressure is 19. It probably was letting water back in, and I didn't notice. So that's a reason to have either... Know what we're going to do? We're going to do this one more time. Hold on. I got an idea. All right, so we're going to have to go and delete some stuff here yet again. And one of the main reasons I added the pumps, besides the speed, is that a pump is trying to allow water flow only one direction. So we do have a part here, if I can find it, that only allows water to travel in one direction, or fluid, I guess, not just water, fluid. And that is this little magic guy. And so if we put this on, just like this, it's not going to allow, I believe, even with the pressure in the ocean trying to push back into the tank, I believe it's not going to allow the fluid to back up. I could be wrong, but we're going to give it a try. All right, here we go again. It's going to take a while, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the part where these tanks are filled up, and then we'll dive. All right, so we're at 104, and we're going to go ahead and dive. I feel like that must be releasing the extra air out, maybe. I don't know what that sound is, but we're going to go ahead and dive, and then we're going to see if my fluid flow valve makes a difference. Here we go, dive! Okay, as we go down, you can see that the pressure is changing. And this is the pressure in the tank. I wonder, I didn't really put like pressure meters on everything, but is this only the water affecting the pressure? All right, so I think we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom. Let's close that. Okay, so we got 8 in the inside tank, 1 where I'm sitting. We've got the 9367. That's always a bit different, isn't it? And 104. So now we're going to open the valve between the compressed air tank and the fluid tank, and they are going to expel the water through these one-way valves and hopefully completely expel the water. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. There we go. You can see that the compressed air is being used, and we're dumping the water. Now, it should not allow the water to come back in this time. So whatever, 100% of compressed air is able to press out of this fluid tank is probably a good idea of how much compressed air we're going to need if the volume of fluid is the same as the volume of compressed air. Wow. I almost sound like I know what I'm talking about. I feel like we're going to have a little bit of water left over though. I think we're going to need a little more than 1-to-1 when it comes to compressed air versus fluid. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky. It's still going. We're just starting to equalize here. That's interesting. So the compressed air and the actual fluid tank are having about the same amount of pressure. Okay. Wait, our water is going back up again? How is that? All right, so I'm going to say maybe unless we have a lot more air, we're not going to be expelling. All right, let's just do double. If I'm going to double the volume, I should probably double the air intakes, right? We're going to be here all day waiting. Okay, so we don't really care about the weight of the submarine. No, we don't really care about the weight of the submarine or anything like that. So now we have double the air volume, or double compressed air, is what I mean to say. All right, here is our super sci-fi sub. We're going to go ahead and fill up the air tanks, and as you can see, we've got double the amount of compressed air. So will that allow us to expel all the water and not have the water flow back in? I don't know why the water flowed back in. The only thing I can think of... Oh, do you think that the water, when that pressure rises in that tank, is pressing the water back into the compressed air tank? Air tanks are getting a little bit of fluid in there, I think. Okay, let's shut that off. All right, let's dive. Okay, so I think this is a good sign. We're at 6,000 versus 70%. I'm kind of like equating that the percentage is a representation of the fluid level. Don't know if that's completely true, but it's roughly, right? So we're halfway, and we're at 4,000, or almost halfway. Okay, wait. I think this is gonna work. Our pressure in the tank is 25 and dropping. I don't know if these matter, if they get to be the same if it stops doing the pressure out. I'm not positive. But this pressure is lower than this pressure, so we might be okay. Oh yeah. We're out pressurizing the tank, or whatever technical term that is. Okay. It worked. And our pressure is lower in the tank. Our pressure is higher in our compressed air tank. And we are expelling the last of the water to 0. Can we do 0? Can we do it? Can we get rid of the water? Uh-oh. Wait, what? Why? Why? Okay, wait. Let me turn this off. Okay, I don't understand. Okay, this is the part that's confusing me. These all have one-way valves. And at some point... Oh, I don't think I have a meter in here to tell me. Do I? Do I have a gases meter? Let's check this out. Oops. Maybe water got into the air tanks? Here we go. Liquid meter. Seawater 3.36. I'm guessing that the seawater got into the compressed air section and it's pushing it now into that tank. So what came to mind is, do these filters degrade if you don't have a pump in use? So if I'm just using pipes and, you know, straightaway valves, actually, I can probably, yeah, I think so. I can probably, no, I can't. Because if the pressure is going to push the water back in, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I do have my one-ways. So I was going to take the one-ways off, but I think for sure I want to keep the one-ways on to make sure that it doesn't push water back into the system. And these right here, these little guys are kind of like the new filters we have. I don't have an old one here on this thing, but these are supposed to filter out air from being able to pass through it. So in theory, if we're using compressed air and we are pushing it through here, and you know what we should do? Do I want to do this? Okay, let's go ahead and do this. I don't know if I want to do this, but we're going to. All right, so let's go ahead. And I just realized that I only have one of these. That's crazy. Isn't that crazy? Like I'm expelling the water at a pretty good rate, considering I only have one. All right, let's grab one of these. That is the wrong one. We don't want to allow water. We want to only allow gas. Okay, so why am I doing this? So what I'm trying to prove to myself is, if we have compressed air in here, and let's say water gets in here, we don't want water to go back into this water tank. So we're only going to allow the compressed air to be pushed through the valve into this water tank. And all of these have the one-way valves and fluid valves to only allow fluid out, not the air. So in theory, yet again, if we have compressed air, we push it out through here. We're pushing this into this tank and out. Oh, do I want to? Wow. I feel like, you know what we're going to do? This is getting more complicated the more I do it. And maybe that's the way it works. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, you can tell I did not think this through, but we're going to go ahead and do one of these. Okay. I can't see which way it's pointing. So we're going to allow compressed air to enter this area here. Oh my gosh, do I have to do this? I do. And we're going to only allow gas relief and give me a filter. We can use this one. And there we go. So let me talk my way through this one again. So we fill this with compressed air. We open this valve. It will only allow air to pass through here. It will only allow air to pass one way through. It will then open this valve and go through here, pushing the compressed air into this tank, which has one-way valves that only allow fluid to go out, and it will only allow fluid out of these filters, and that is it. Doesn't that seem like a good idea? Here we go. I'm gonna fill this up, and then we'll try it. You know what? I'm gonna do something else. Okay, so I'm kind of not really interested in waiting forever to see if this works or fails. So what we're gonna do is we're going to copy this whole thing. So just to speed it up the testing, because it seems like it takes forever. It's gonna take a while, but I'm going to pull in the air now. So if you've been jumping around this video, let's recap what we're doing. Let's first go into the compressed air chamber here. So what we are doing, we're filling this chamber up, this tank up with compressed air, okay? We're on the surface, we're filling it up. We then have this set up here so that when we open this valve, it will pull in the compressed air. This is a gas filter. It will allow gases through, not water. So in case we got water in here on accident, it will not let that through. We will pull the gas through one way and it will go into the fluid tanks. And you can see we have all these valves here and they're going to dump compressed air in here. Now, when we do that, we're going to be opening these valves right here. And these valves are to the ocean. We then have a one-way filter to make sure that hopefully the water doesn't come back in. And we have a fluid filter valve, which should only allow fluid out and not our compressed air. I think. Pretty sure. I hope that's how it works. And then of course we have our, our fluid filter that expels the fluid. And that is what we're doing. We don't have any pumps on here to expel the water. It's all going to be compressed air. And hopefully this works. Let's dive. Okay, so we hit the floor and we have compressed air. We have fluid of 9,278. I'm going to press the evacuate button. Hopefully everything works. Let's see. Okay, we're starting to evacuate the water. Compressed air is going down. It seems to be about the same speed as before, maybe? I don't know, I didn't time it. But we're not using any pumps. For some reason, if you put a filter on a pump, it just strangulates the flow. And I'm not too sure why that is, but it does. So here you can see it's evacuating. I guess it's going a lot slower actually. I think it's probably about the same as the pumps. Yeah, I think the air filters strangulate, or not just air filters, filters in general in this game strangulate the pipes. I guess the idea is that it's like physically trying to filter out only water, or physically trying to only filter out the gas. But I don't know, it just seems like a little too slow. So that is a problem. So if you're building a submarine, you put filters on to make sure that water's not coming in. You get your pumps and your pipes strangulated. And as you can see, it is barely flowing out the compressed air now. Ugh, this sucks. All right, so I think this proves the final point that I wanted to make, which is don't use filters on your submarines. We're gonna have to try to figure out how to do it where we have enough compressed air, or we use pumps, because the pumps will keep pumping regardless of the amount of compressed air you have left, and that will get everything out without trying to filter out water versus air, and that's probably better for your submarine. At least that's what I'm going to do with mine. So I'll have the small pumps probably and just get everything out, and then use compressed air as the main thing to get the water out relatively quick. And also I can use compressed air on a logic block to say if you don't have enough compressed air, we're not going to turn on the pumps. I mean, we're not going to say that, but we're not going to turn on the pumps to evacuate the water from your ballast tanks, and so you'll be screwed if you don't have compressed air in your tanks, regardless of how much they're used. It's kind of like helping the simulation of a submarine. So anyways, that is it for today. I just wanted to go ahead and give this a test because I was working on the submarine and I was like, is this working the way I think it's working, or is it not working? So far, I think it's roughly kind of working, but not with filters. Anyway, let me know if you have any other ideas, or if you think I did something wrong. Let me know so I know what I did wrong so I don't do it on my submarine. And I'll see you next time.